Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Outwired. I'm apparently sideways in the beginning of the show. I'm not used to doing that, so I want to look over at the camera, but then I don't, and then probably it's better that you don't see my whole face anyways. But welcome to another episode of Outwired. We're super excited to be here with Scott Barr from Karen Consulting Group, with Greg Emmert, still the outdoor hospitality consultant. The fuck is taking you so long, Greg?
You'll see. It's all worth the wait.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Promises. The bar is set so high. Excited to be back here with you guys. We've got a packed show. We want to start with the thing did anything come across your desk this week, as we always do briefly. But then I want to get into, we're going to talk about a little bit about the KOA North American Camping Report. Our esteemed colleague Scott conducted most of all of the research, all of the research. So he's going to pull that up, and we got some expert insights into how that data was formulated, what it means for you, that kind of stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about, I think, some soft data versus hard data, gasoline prices versus, I'm scared to go camping or whatever that, I don't know. There's other soft data probably, but that's what came into my head as an example for safety. And then we're going to get some flying cars maybe. The stuff's really more advanced than you think. We found some really cool videos to share with you guys. So let's start off with what's on our desks for this week, guys. What came across your desk in last week?
I'll go first. Nothing, but I really want to know.
Wow.
I really want to know. No, this is it. I've had other stuff, but I've been thinking this since week one. We have that cool opening that you did with all the neon and all that. My name pops up, and there's that kick-ass looking neon tent. At what point can Scott and I expect to see little mini us walking around in the intro and going in the neon tent and hanging out, tipping one back? Right? When can we expect to see the
thing I put on LinkedIn?
No, I didn't.
You should go look at what I put on LinkedIn.
I saw that, Brian. I saw it. It's actually pretty cool. Yeah. That's
so maybe not that far away.
Yeah.
All right. Well, see, look at that. I didn't even know it, but I arrived at it independently.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it.
That's why you're the consultant.
Sure.
Okay, what came across your desk?
Scott?
No, I thought you said you actually had an answer.
No, that's it. I want to take my time up bugging you about. I want to see myself in that little tent. It just looks so cool. I want to be able to picture myself in there, hanging out and drinking a glass of wine or some bourbon or something. That's it. It's the only thing I want to spend time talking about. So you might as well move on to Scott.
I don't want to delve into this too deep, but because I have my maybe I have my own thing. I don't know. I haven't even thought about what my own thing is. But that's actually really interesting, because I think there's my girlfriend and I were talking about this unrelated to camping. We were drinking in a brewery on Saturday, and I was thinking about I was talking about robots, which she doesn't really like me talking about all the time, as you can imagine. But I was talking about robots, and I'm thinking well, if this thing can make anything you want in your house, what happens to the future of restaurants? And then I'm realizing well, that's easy. The ones that are branded, that have really difference makers, that make really, really great epic food, can just license their recipes for download by the robot and rent a meal to you.
Yeah,
for there you cents go. Or $1 or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can deliver your food anywhere in the world. So there's still going to be restaurants for social experiences and all that stuff. They're not going away, right? But there's going to be a need for probably less of them. And then think about where that takes camping too. I think that takes camping in an interesting direction. Camping is still going to be camping. People are going to go outside. They're going to hang out. That's still going to be the best experience. Nobody's advocating for replacing nature, just before all the haters start emailing me. But I think there's going to be a significant exposure to the camping industry that happens through VR, AR, through Meta's worlds, through and I think if you're an early adopter when that's ready, and it's not ready yet, then you'll be able to stake your real estate, and you'll be able to put your logos up there, and you'll be able to just bring people into the camping experience who otherwise never would have been able to find it.
Right on. And I just saw what you posted on LinkedIn, by the way. Your mini you in the little diorama. That is pretty cool. So now I fully expect to see us walking around in that neon campsite.
Have time in the week to get there, guys. But okay, go ahead, Scott.
So mine is a little they're all self-serving, I guess, some of them, but I'm going to start off with it being hockey related.
Okay.
My alma mater, Western Michigan, won the national championship.
Congratulations.
Against Boston University. And the reason I bring this up isn't just to say, yay, even though that's part of it, but is that there was something that the players said consistently throughout the tournament, and it struck me because it applies to what I do, what we do, what we all do, and that is when they would interview players, they were like, well, this is the first time this team has ever, Western Michigan's ever been in the Frozen Four. It's like, you guys must be pretty nervous. And every player that they interviewed from Western said no. And they all said the same thing. Nerves are for the unprepared. And they won the semifinal game. They went to the finals, and the kind of the same thing happened. It's like you're in the national championship game. I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
And if you can see these young guys, and you can see that how confident they were. Like, they were all super confident. Like, they went into that last game, I think they knew they were going to win, and they just said, and they all said, they kept saying this, nerves are for the unprepared. And at the end, when they won, and the coach came out, and they were like, your players were very poised. They came out ready to go from the start. There were no nerves, and it's like, right, nerves are for the unprepared. And it showed me two things: one, the leadership part, which how important that is, that message, but also it's something that we, whenever, in people's work and whatever they do, this is a good lesson. It's like, if you're super nervous about something, maybe you're not as prepared as you should be. Take a step back and think about that, because, being super prepared, if you're super prepared, you should have confidence in what you're doing. So there's my little speech of the day and my touting of the Broncos victory.
That fascinates me, right? Because I think this is not a larger discussion because we don't have time for it. But I think this is an interesting point that you make, because I think you'll get some people who say, and I'm not one of them, but you'll get some people who say well, they're just cocky, right? And they could have easily lost because they could have been overconfident. Obviously, they weren't. They could back up what they did, and they went out and execute on it and won the championship, right? And that's where I'm at in my camp, right? Like, I often will look at this line of, I know a lot about marketing and technology and AI because I'm obsessed with it and study it, and I can talk about it for hours. And I also know, from a business standpoint, I can go out execute anybody in this industry in AI and probably marketing and tech, not because I'm necessarily better at them, but because I will outwork them, and I will be more prepared by sitting 18, 19, 20 hours, and I have fun working, and I'll just I'll outwork you, right? And there's such a fine line there sometimes between that overconfidence and I can back it up. So it's like the ego thing. Is it ego if you can actually execute on it?
Exactly.
I don't know.
That's an old saying. It's like, it's not bragging if you can back it up.
Yeah.
So
right. So that's my thing. I don't come prepared to any of these shows or to the fireside chats or anything else. Not because I know it all, but because I know so much in my craft of marketing, advertising, tech, AI, whatever, that you can ask me any question and I can talk about it for an hour. I don't need a PowerPoint. I don't need a slideshow, and neither do you guys, although sometimes you want them there, right? But you guys know your craft well enough, just the networking at the conferences that I've talked to you guys about. And that's the difference, right? If you can back it up or you can't. That's my thought.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I don't know that I actually have a thing today. I was telling you guys before the show that OpenAI has been on a kind of roll here, releasing some interesting things. This week, they released GPT 4.1, which just continues their crazy, weird naming convention stuff, which comes after GPT 4.5, which was released in February, that they're now depreciating. But anyway, GPT 4.1 came out. It's supposed to be really, really good at coding. It's their new frontier model. So we started plugging that into some of our social posting agents yesterday and this morning, and I still got some more work to do with that. They've released today O3, which is their next thinking level model that's supposed to be really good at math and supposed to be really good at image analysis and all kinds of other things. I have been so busy, I haven't even had a chance to watch the launch video yet. And we have too many other things to talk about on the show, so we're not going to do that this week, but maybe next. So those are my things, just the continuing progress, I think, probably of AI and and I know we talk about that all the time, but just the sheer magnitude of how fast this shit is moving is crazy to me. Just please get on board. So I just won't take up that much time because I want to get to other stuff. So let's dive into this, right? Like, I think what I would like to do, Scott, unless you disagree with me, because obviously you're the data expert and I have absolutely no ego there. I don't know anything about that. I think I'd love to just dissect, like, I think you're going to share your screen, show us the North American Camping Report. Let's dive into some of the data, and then maybe we can tie in as we talk about some of that data, like a 1-2 punch of soft data, hard data, and like blend it together.
Okay.
All right. So you want to share your screen over there? All right. Wow, that's a tiny font. I don't know if we can. Boy, that's super tiny.
They really had to cut the budget on the report this year. They had to shrink
I was
it.
telling you, Scott, like the font was really small on the KOA thing, and then I realized like it was my monitor. I needed to zoom in a little bit. But
is this a little bit better?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a little bit better. You'll probably have to like open it up and then zoom in a little bit to it so our audience can see some of the data, but like we'll be talking about it to you.
Okay, let me
and then we can make the whole thing full screen for you. Like you can make it full screen and we can make it full screen. But I think if you hit Control Plus on your keyboard, it'll go bloop, bloop, bloop.
I just was doing that and it's not working.
Oh, maybe they don't let you zoom in because they don't want you to steal the exact font that they used.
It was another thing they had to cut from the budget. The zoom in
feature.
It's also gone.
I mean, I guess if you're going to cut something, you keep the data, you take away the zoom feature, right?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, you can always just get on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what I'm doing. It won't. Maybe
click the cover and see if you can go to the first page or the play, and then see if it'll let you zoom. It still won't let you zoom.
No.
Interesting.
For those of you watching at home who were born before touchscreens, you zoom like this. That's it.
All right. Well, just talk us through some of the methodology. I'll see if I can pull it up on my end and send it to Lisa.
Because if you can,
But just introduce the report and some of the goals and the things that you had behind it first. Let's start there.
Yeah, this is for anyone who doesn't know, this was our 11th consecutive year of doing this. We do a real broad-based sample of campers throughout the U.S. We bring in everyone, just to make it clear so everyone knows this is not just KOA campers. This is the campers at large taken from a random sample of the population. We don't use any panels. We go out there within the population and we find the people who camp that way. So just because I think that's important. And a lot of times when you look at research, these are the things that you should ask about. Like who answered your survey? How did you pick those people? How did they get in? For example, if you're an organization that does a survey of just from your list, your internal list of customers, that's not representative of camping overall, and you should not present it that way, and people should not interpret it that way. I know that sounds a little snarky maybe, but I'm saying that because of the fact that we need to look at information critically, and we need to be able to feel fairly confident in what we're looking at.
For sure. So, Lisa, will you switch over to my camera real quick? And I've got it. I don't know. I pinched to zoom on my mouse pad, but I don't know how to tell you to do that on a mouse. So anyway.
Yeah, I hit the control, and maybe because it's sharing, it won't do it.
Well, the Control Plus didn't work for me either. But anyway, I got it. Like I can zoom in and follow you along with you. So.
Oh, okay. So do you want me to stop sharing my screen?
Yeah, you can stop sharing. Yeah.
Okay. Hang on.
But then talk us through, like, tell me where to flip and where to go, and I'll follow your lead, right?
All right. So anyway, that's just kind of the methodological intro. I won't get into the weeds on it. If anyone wants to talk about it at length, please feel free to contact me. I'm more than willing to do that.
What the fuck? We want to talk about it at length right now.
Well, the methodology?
Maybe not the methodology. Okay. Sorry, I was half paying attention. That's my fault.
Anyway, no. So, and this is, again, we track some stuff. We've been tracking some stuff for 11 years. Other stuff is new. We try to keep it freshened up. But and keep in mind that this has two purposes. We look at what happened last year. So this is a review of 2024, as well as a look ahead for 2025 in some cases. So the one thing I think, right there on that first page is just to understand that where camping fits in all this, and that it's if you think about out of every 4 leisure trips being a camping trip, that's still a lot. That's a lot of camping. I know that there's some stuff out there. We're seeing declines in RVing and stuff like that, but that's a pretty solid figure to when you consider just how it fits in the mix. The other parts of leisure travel don't really include camping themselves. So, but yeah, it's and one of the overviews I would give as we go through this is that in some cases this information was gathered in early January, but we did supplement it in some areas to bring in some newer information about things like the economy and stuff like that, because things changed.
Really? What's changed since January? Oh, I don't want to get you off track. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So, again, when you think about the economy, and I'm on like whatever this is, where it says 72% of campers consider camping a cost-effective travel option, and that's something that we've known for a long time. I mean, we've even when the economy is good, we ask these types of questions, and so it's always been that. And there's a lot of people out there who use camping as a travel option because it is a little bit cheaper. I think RVI.
I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to say you got to say next slide when you want to go to the 72%. So now I've got it up. Go ahead.
Okay. So I won't dwell on that too much, just because it's the point being is that it's fairly cost effective for a lot of people. It's how they want to travel, and hopefully it's fun too. Next slide. This is
next page or next
page where it says section 1 and the industry reset.
This one? Okay, cool. Thank you. Sorry. I'm not used to operating this. I'm not intelligent enough. Go ahead.
Okay. So in terms of the industry reset, this is something that we've been talking about for a while, since the days of COVID, and we saw what a disruption COVID was, and we've with Brian's the reports he and I have been working on too for Modern Campground. We've looked at kind of RV, for example, RV sales. Like, where would they be now if not for COVID? Because we know that COVID just kind of came in and just kind of blew everything out of the water, and we're in the midst of that. And so one of the things that I did this year was not to gloss over or to avoid what happened in the COVID years, but to say, where are we now versus where were we pre-COVID? And overall, you'll see a lot of similarities in the results, which I think is really interesting. And that's why I think it's appropriate to call it a bit of a reset, because you can see solid middle income, household income, children household, all these basic demographic measurements. Look at that, the percentage of campers under the age of 30. So, by the way, when people say that camping is getting younger, it is not. The generations are taking up a bigger share. For example, Gen Z and millennials take up a bigger share of the overall camping population, but they're getting older too. So, again,
so we're fucked? Is that what you're saying, or we're fine and you're just panicking us for no reason?
No, I'm just saying there's no need to panic. I'm just saying,
well, there's no new people coming in. If they're just getting older, then like,
no, I'm saying the opposite.
Okay.
It's the opposite. The percentage of young people coming in continues to be the same. It hasn't changed.
Gotcha.
It changed
okay,
a lot.
I see now. Okay.
In COVID changed it a lot. There were a lot more younger people, but where we are right now compared to pre-COVID, it's the same. That percentage under 30 is, almost identical to what.
But there's a 2 percentage point drop in lifelong campers, which clearly means we're fucked. Let's panic. No?
Well,
like, we can spin the data any way we want, right?
I
think that's interesting though. The way you did it 2024 to 2019, I think we were talking about this, right? Yes, lifelong camper is down 2%, but also then the camped on and off throughout the years is up 2%. And I think that's probably well, it is literally a bigger slice of the pie. I was going to say positive, and then I was like, let me zoom out with my eyes and actually look at what I'm consuming. But then new to camping is down 1%, but then the flip side started the past few years is up 1%. So yeah, like the same, but are those numbers the same or are the percentages the same?
The percentages are the same. The numbers are not the same.
Where are the numbers changing?
We overall have, compared to 2019, there are 11 million additional households camping. So, 2019, the composition, overall is the same, but the numbers have increased. So we have a lot more people there. Again, when you look at the big picture, at the macro level, as you mentioned earlier, we're ahead of the game, and we're about where we would have been if not for COVID. We're just that's the mode we're in.
I do want to briefly touch on the methodology here, right? Because I would like to know, and maybe it's defined in here and I just haven't had a chance to read it. What is the definition of a camping household? And how are we growing growing so much over 2019? Is it still the COVID campers who are here? Is it people getting divorces and now there's 2 households to count? What's the methodology behind that?
It is targeted households. So we don't interview more than one person in the household.
Okay.
And within the household, we ask if there's anyone in the household who camps, using our definition of camping. And if so, they do the survey. So it's just one representative per household.
And then I think it's important as we go through this data, just one last thing, is to set the difference for people, if you know it, or if we can cite it, and maybe it's just metric or statistic by statistic, the difference between camping and private campground, luxury resort / glamping camping, because there's a difference, right? And this is all encompassing of all, right?
Correct. It is. That was a decision that was made early when we first started doing this, that we were going to cast a wide net and try to capture everyone, basically, in
which I think is good
sector. Yeah. Because we can look at subgroups. That's the benefit. We can pull out the people who stay at the luxury resorts and so on, and look at that group independently. We can pull out the tent campers, we can pull out the backpackers and so on. So we have all that in there, and we can do that. But as a whole, these results are as a whole.
I mean, we were just on our fireside chat show earlier, and I don't know how much Sandy was reading from this report. We were just touching on it for like 5 minutes, right? When we hear so much that the camping industry is changing, this sure doesn't look like it.
My view on that, in terms of change, the accommodations and experiences are changing, but the people really aren't.
But by changing the accommodations to like add glamping or more luxury, wouldn't you assume that if we do enough of that, and maybe we just haven't yet, that we would bring new people in and thus influence the demographic? Or are we not counting cabin, vacation rental, glamping as campers?
We are counting that. And yes, it will over time change it.
Okay. Do you have a sense of where that might go?
It'll look a lot more like it did during COVID, I think. It'll be skewed a little bit toward the higher income households.
Okay.
We'll see a lot more of that, especially. Probably it'll be more higher income households, families. A lot of those families that want, because one of the things we know is glamping really does attract the family camper. So, and the thing is, on the other side, the RV industry kind of needs to turn itself around because it's being squeezed right now. So you're kind of seeing lower levels of participation there. So overall, what you have is, that kind of balance, that it's going to be out of balance eventually, probably within the next couple of years, I think, if things keep going the way they are.
So if I'm that begs the question, if I'm a campground owner, what should I be prepping for? Like, just based on this narrow thing that we're talking about.
You should be prepping for campers having higher expectations. during their stays in terms of the services and amenities you offer. They are going to continue to expect more when they stay there.
Greg, how do you, like as a consultant, right? You have so many parks who are coming to you who are either established parks looking to improve, or you've got new builds that are in the pipeline. How do you as a consultant then look at, talk to those people and say like, well, here's the demographics and data we're seeing. Like it probably will go here based on the data, but it might not. So like, here's what I'm advising you.
So much of that comes into with their, of course, right? Like, it comes with the caveat of like, where's their site and what type of thing they're trying to build. Because, well, like Scott just pointed out, right? He can pull out the individual segments, but they cast a wide net, and this is a very broad picture, right? So like the middle camper, are they represented in here? Yeah, they are, but we don't know what they want, right? It talks a little bit more, it seems anyway, about like the established camper with all the gear, or the new person going out and glamping, but it doesn't really talk about those people in the middle in detail, right? It doesn't talk about anybody in detail.
I think half of them died in bear attacks. That's why.
So what's that?
I think half of them died in bear attacks. That's why we couldn't get as much of them in the survey results.
The middle camper is notoriously delicious. So that's what I've heard talking to bears.
Yeah, that's why the filling in the middle of the Oreo, right?
So that's right.
It's like the Fibonacci sequence. It's found throughout nature.
So there's that, there's obviously this thing casts a really wide net. I have to kind of take it, right, and then pare it down and say, this is what I think applies to you if you're building glamping in Georgia, or if you're building RV sites in Washington. So I don't know, kind of hard to answer. But this thing is full of really good, like I'm just going through, I've made some notes. I made notes because I'm not good at off the cuff stuff when we're coming to because this is Scott's department. So if I start to lean into the data, I want to make sure I have it. It's like actual notes. But one of the things that I would tell my clients, if they've got a park and they're looking at this report and how does this apply to me, it'd be really cool to see, because one of the things that it really doesn't do, and no reporting does, it's kind of because it's hard to do. There's really so it talks about the amenities that guests want, but it doesn't really connect them to ROI. And this is not that kind of study. And that's really hard.
What page are you on? I can go to it and show the data.
I'm not. I'm looking at my notes, so I'm not sure.
Sorry, that's okay. Scott probably knows.
Yeah. But if you're looking at that, can you add something to your exit surveys to measure the length of stay, sort of by amenity type? Can you add questions in there like, did you use the pool? And then you can sort of look at their stays. They stayed 1.5 nights longer. And you can aggregate that sort of over the year and create like a guest impact matrix, let's say, right? Kind of measuring the impact for each amenity and then knowing which ones are more impactful.
Do you think that, I don't mean to interrupt you,
no,
but like,
that's okay.
You know how I'm a weird and geek?
Yes.
Like I've seen all these videos of surveillance systems run by AI that can detect objects and motion and people. Is that a thing in the future where like, I'm just going to track Sally and like anonymize her data, right? For a privacy standpoint, but then I can see how many people use my pool this weekend.
Yeah, could be. I know. I mean, nobody likes being on camera, but I don't know an owner that's got a pool and Wi-Fi and doesn't have kids. I mean, that's just liability control, right? So yeah. So you can count the people in and out of the pool, but did it impact their stay? Did it make them like, yeah, a bunch of 300 people used it, but were those people, would they answer that question that, yes, I stayed longer because you have a pool. Yes, I stayed longer because you have a splash pad.
Probably not, but you could infer quite a bit from it, right? Like if they're in the pool twice, so they stay in the pool 30 minutes or an hour instead of 10 minutes or.
Yeah, that's something that you could do. You could use that, add that to your exit strategy questioning. It also depends greatly on the park, right? If it's like I was saying before, but if it's 40 sites versus 400 sites, this advice is given as a generalization. So this is where, okay, I have to look in and say, all right, look, you're a 40 site park. I know it says splash pads are great, but that's a massive investment. I don't think it's a great idea for you with 40 sites versus a 400 site resort. Sure, let's pump up a great big splash pad for you and add it to your pool. So there's definitely a lot of paring down and putting a finer point on it that I would need to do, but this is definitely, I mean, there's no better reporting than this. This is the gold standard by which everything else is measured by, right? As far as outdoor hospitality.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Greg, what you're talking about is something that I actually do have some research on. It's just not publicly available.
Oh, cool. Sidebar.
So,
Lisa, turn off our cameras, please.
I would love to sidebar
Leave
with
the
you on that
microphones
sometime,
on,
Scott.
man.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can have that conversation about that. We do have some information on that. You're exactly right. And there are ways to get to that. What you're talking about essentially is what you want to do, and you want to be able to do that. And I would invite any campground owner to do whatever they can. I would love it if they did some counting of people. You know, the Park Service, one of the things they do on visitation is they actually set up cameras, or they set people at these locations to see what the usage is. They take pictures or videos so that they can monitor areas, heavy use areas and stuff like that. Because so
like this doesn't have to be creepy. You can set up the security cameras and not record it, and still have the AI count how long they're in the pool, and then it just never records footage.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of application, that would be invaluable too, because it takes a step further than simply knowing how many people are using the pool. It's like, you know, you're quantifying that experience, and you know the same goes for pretty much anything too on site. If you can do that, if anyone can quantify that, it's gold. It truly is.
All right, where are we going from here, Scott?
We can talk about RVing for a minute. I know we've talked about it extensively on this show, but you can see graphically, there's this decline that's continuing, and you know this report didn't include you know some of the you know the results that we've seen and that have been reported by the RV industry overall in terms of registrations and retail sales, but it's quite
down almost 1.5 million over 2019.
Yep. That's the one that there's your when you talk about the changeover, the changeover from RVing to other types of camping and camping experiences is what's happened.
Is this based on what is RV use over time measuring? Is this camper nights? It's
the number of people who identify traveling in an RV as their primary accommodation. They do not have to own it. So this is usage. Okay. So
this takes in third party. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
If someone takes a 2-week vacation, their one camping trip of the year is an RV 2-week vacation. They rent it or borrow it. That they're included in here as well. That's why these figures don't match RV ownership figures. So
okay.
Just
but it's a more robust picture of the health of the RV industry.
It is because what you want that ancillary usage. You want people who aren't owners to be out there using an experience.
So they become owners, right?
What's that?
So they become owners.
Exactly. That experience, and I mean. You get people in RVs because the whole idea behind it is if you go out there and stay in one, a lot of people will want to do it again and want to buy one. But yeah, that's unfortunately that's declining.
Why do you think that this started? And I'm sure it started to go up long before 2014. But why do you think it went up quicker maybe not quicker? No. But why do you think? Because it flattened out in 2018. So what are the differences in the bar graphs here is what I'm looking at, right? So 2014 to 2015, it was up like, let's call it 800,000, 900,000, something like that. Mm-hmm. But then 2015 to 16, it leveled off a little bit. It was only up 300, 400-ish, whatever. I'm not good at math, but close. But then 27, 28, it was flat, spiked in 2019, spiked in 2020. We all know what happened in 2021, 2022. And then obviously, like, there's a whole nother story of like, what the fuck did we do to these people that made them not stay? But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But what do you think causes the ebb and flow of this? Other than, like, obviously COVID is an outlier.
Yeah, the economic conditions. We saw a rebound in RVing and RV ownership after the recession in like 08, 09, and that they built some momentum after that, based on the economic recovery during those years. There was a little bit of pent up demand, it felt like, during that time as well. Outdoors was booming. The millennials were getting into camping. They had started camping when they were a little bit younger, during the economic hard times, and they stuck with it. And a lot of them bought RVs. They've been pushing that age down. RVing is one of the areas where the age really has gotten younger throughout the years, especially the last few years. So we have a much younger RVer now than we did before, but unfortunately, the youngest people are not buying RVs right now.
Is that I wonder if that's because they don't feel like they might enjoy it, or have decided they want to enjoy it, or is it economic? Because we all know how hard it is to afford house number one, let alone RV number one. Today.
Oh yeah. It's I think it's a lot of two factors. The one, the cost, the economics of it, and two is it's a group of residents who aren't really into the whole ownership thing that much anyway. These are people, it's hard to get them to buy a tent or a sleeping bag, let alone an RV. So it's yeah, there you can see that decline in RV ownership overall is quite striking, really. And we felt like this year 2025 may have seen a leveling in this, but early indicators are that we're not seeing that.
Help me understand this, because I'm reading this paragraph to the right and I'm thinking this is some PR spin here. Am I reading it the wrong way? Of the 10 million households that camped in an RV, approximately 73% were RV owners, an increase of 200,000. Like, that reads to me like, oh, the industry's fine. 200,000 more people.
But that's compared to 2019.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But then if I look at this graph here, right? Like, it's only, okay, it is a difference of, okay, I'm sorry. I was looking at it the wrong way. So, okay. Sorry. My fault. My bad.
No.
Anything else on this page, or?
Nope. I would just say that when I was talking about that slight optimism we thought that was creeping in early in the year, we feel has kind of gone away now.
For RVing or the whole industry? Just RV or just
for RVing? For
okay.
RVing especially.
Anything here?
Not really. Not really that interesting, I don't think.
This was interesting to me a little bit, but like the distance, we've talked about the shift in behavior with that, right? A little bit.
Yeah, I think travel distance it really is a bellwether of what's going to happen in the coming year, because this tracks really well with whether it's the economy or kind of tension, national stress, lack of consumer confidence, that people really do stay close to home. That it's very noticeable. So
what's the difference mileage wise?
It really is in that that under 50 miles band.
Really? It's that? Okay.
Yeah.
So this says 150, but do you actually think it's shorter than that then, because this was January data?
Yeah, I think it's going to be shorter. I do. I think people are really, you think 60% of people are going to stay within 150 miles. That used to be kind of the standard. It's like 150 miles was like, okay, that's the typical travel distance. But what we're seeing is that this is, when we saw the optimism initially at the start of the year, we saw a bump in the people that were going to take the longest trips, that were going to travel more than 300 miles, and we've seen a shrink in that, and also a growing number of people who are staying within 50 miles of home.
So you think the number is 50 miles here, or is it So 6 and 10, 50 miles, or?
No, it won't be that high, but I think it'll probably be like, say, 40, 45%. That's a lot of people who are going to stay. But I think that I really feel like that's what's going to happen. They're going to stay, they're going to find a campground close by, and they're going to have their vacation. They're going to save some money and still have the experiences they want.
It's going to very much become a
Greg, our
play,
rockstar.
right?
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. Please
No,
continue.
that's okay. I think I talked over you. I was just saying, I was just commenting. It's very much going to become a regional play for campgrounds now, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about that before, but so my question is, Greg, to you as our rockstar consultant who I throw under the bus and ask him possible questions and answer them live on the show. So, Greg, like, how do you, if somebody's coming to you and saying, like, I'm considering purchasing this piece of land, which is the easiest one, right? Like, where I have options, I haven't bought it yet, right? That's easier in an economic market like this. But how do you consult for clients who are developing or considering developing, or like at the beginning stages when you look at, obviously you can't forecast economics. Sometimes you can have a good idea, sometimes you can't. Obviously January to March kind of threw everybody for a loop.
Yep.
But like I think, how do you look at this data from a distance standpoint and say to a guy who's like, well, I bought this property and I wanted to develop it based on the fact that I did a study and it's 175 miles away from a city, but it's in a beautiful area and like lots of people are going to cross here, versus the 125 versus the 75 versus the, right? How does that change your calculation of what you offer advice to clients as?
I ask him very quickly and bluntly up front how deep his pockets are or her pockets are, because if you're building that park and it is that far out, okay, you are going to have to, if you've got a draw nearby, it's very different, right? But if you just,
Right.
I just bought a really pretty piece of land, it's in an awesome spot, and I have this conversation all the time, and I think we may have even talked about it on the show. People will call and they'll be like, I have the best land for a campground. Okay, tell me why. Well, it's beautiful. All right, everybody thinks that, just like everybody thinks their kids are so smart, their dogs are the greatest. Hey, actually, everybody who thinks their dogs are the greatest is correct. But okay, well, tell me something else. Well, it's in the middle of nowhere and everybody's going to love coming there for the peace and quiet. Immediately, I feel like, okay, how do I manage this? Because this is likely not a good place to buy for a campground. Like, until you have flying cars. That's a whole other conversation. Right. Later in the show, they're good tie-in. But yeah, I mean, typically, if somebody asks me, where should I buy? Like, find that land if you can, within an hour of 1 million people, within 2 hours maybe of 1 million people, but 2 hours is pushing it. And this data shows that, right? Because I think I'm going back up through my notes again now. 57% traveled 100 miles or less, right? But 33%, a full third, to Scott's point, camped within 50 miles of home. That's a ton of people that aren't going any further than 50 miles, which is probably roughly an hour drive.
Yep.
Yeah. So you want to be within that hour of that population center, and then you're in the sweet spot. If you're buying those on the way parks, you are definitely much more susceptible to those economic wins, the soft costs that we're talking about here later on, maybe with the gas prices, things like that. But yeah, typically I'm guiding them and have been. So this data was actually just a really nice, it felt like a pat on the back, really, when I read it, because this is what I've been encouraging people to do all along, is stay within that hour.
It's literally what Scott set out to do, was prove you right.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. That $50 I gave him was totally worth it. But it really is true. You've got to have people to draw from, and you can't just put it. Yes, campers love peace and quiet. Glampers especially, right? That land that I just described might make for a decent glamping operation, but still, you're going to have to spend more to develop that land if it's that far out, because now you have to be the draw. You have to make yourself the destination, give people a reason to come to your park, and you've got to keep them occupied, entertained, and happy the whole time, because they're not leaving to go anywhere. So it can be done, but it's an incredibly expensive build typically, and a much longer return, and a much longer journey to stabilization. I try to get people stabilized in 3 years. That's obviously the goal. 4 or 5 works okay for certain people. But sometimes if you're looking at building a resort in the middle of nowhere and you want it to be the draw, yeah, I hope you have really
lot of
wealthy
marketing, yeah.
friends or some deep pockets to get that done. It can be done, but it's not easy and it's expensive.
How does this data change, if at all, or maybe we don't know, RV versus cabin rentals, vacation rentals, glamping? Are they willing to go further for glamping or shorter, or?
That's a really great question, because based on I don't have typically here. I'll start up this way. I'll become more organized in my thoughts. Typically, in the past, RVers were much more likely to travel further. Okay, that was always the result. Was that the RVer? That was part of the appeal of RVing, was they wanted to have these adventures. They would stay longer. They would take longer trips, and they would put in more miles. We're seeing that change a bit as this newer group of RVers who aren't as comfortable driving, parking, staying in places that are less convenient, maybe in terms of like boondocking and so on. You have a closing of the distances. It's getting shorter over time. So RVers over time aren't traveling quite as far. The glamping folks, they travel. A lot of those folks fly. They will travel long.
That's a good point,
because they drive in their car too, and it's much easier. For example, here in Maine, the Terramore Resort gets a ton of people from Boston, which is about a 3-hour drive from Boston up to Bar Harbor. But you're driving up the coast and everything, and it's kind of like it's very accessible.
Yeah,
and flying up there is not really that realistic. So anyway,
yet stay tuned later in our show. Okay, sir.
Oh, I can't wait. But yeah, so it is changing the dynamic a little bit.
I can't tell if that was serious or he was fucking with me.
I know.
Look both simultaneously at the same time. Are you fucking with me? Or are you actually looking forward to?
No, I actually am.
Okay, all right. I'll shut up then so you can keep going, because I know you got to leave a little bit early.
No, anyway, my whole point there was that we're seeing that change a little bit. One of the things to also consider in here is, we didn't really touch upon it yet. We've talked about it in past shows, but the idea of the car camper, that figure shows up. It's grown a lot. When you think about campground owners, whether they allow these folks there or not, a lot of them have good setups now. They have tents, their own tents that attach to their vehicles and so on. But that's a real growing segment, and that group travels pretty big distances.
Yep.
So that's something to pay attention to. And I know I say this every time it comes up, but I think campground owners need to think about what they're doing with this group of people and understand who they are, and that they're showing up. Like I just said this to someone yesterday. If someone's willing to pay $20-$30 for a campsite, they're not homeless. They're not destitute. They want to pay for. They're traveling this way because they feel safer doing it. It's economical. So it's their preferred form of travel.
I know we have a lot of stuff to get through here, and so we're staying on this for a long time. But I just have one more question related to the soft versus hard thing that we talked about. I think there's an elephant in the room here that I would like you to address, because you know more about the data than anybody else. How much do gas prices really impact this? Because I'm already starting to see people who are like, it'll be fine, gas prices are coming down. But really? Is there data to back that up? Like, obviously some, but is there data to back up, like, the gas prices are down 30 cents, we're going to see a huge boom, the world's going to be great?
It's more likely to impact travel distance than it is participation.
Right, but which is why I'm talking about it right now on this slide, right?
Yeah. So people will stay a little bit closer to home, but gas prices need to spike pretty good. Yep. Good in a bad way. That there needs to be a decent increase. It can't, if it's incremental, it's like, gas prices are 10 cents more than they were last year, or whatever. That's not going to keep people home.
Does that work on the reverse side, though?
If they come down?
Yeah, but not a lot.
No, it's almost like there's a sweet spot with gas prices. I don't know where it is exactly, but yeah, it would have to go down a lot to get people to say, "Oh, I'm going to take a driving vacation now because gas is cheaper." It's like, yeah, people don't really do that. That just doesn't really hit the, again, they'll stay closer to home. They may take an extra trip. Who knows, an extra weekend outing if gas prices do decrease. But other than that, it's not a big driver in the background of people's behavior.
All right, where are we going next?
I think, for me, like this, the stuff about the generations and stuff like that, I think, people should just keep in mind that it's life stage. Always just keep that in mind. But these folks, where are they in their lives? Kind of what are their background, behaviors and stuff like that, that impact, whether or not they stay with you and how they want to stay. But overall, it, to me, the one of the bigger factors, things that has been coming out of this research is the experiences and what people want, kind of what their travel goals are, what their and I'm not sure what page that's on. I'm doing some of this from the top of my head. Is the we can talk about generations till forever, but the one thing I would say about the generations, and there's one note on here that is that the preferences for tents and the way people start camping has changed. Excuse me. Young people used to overwhelmingly stay in tents, like 70%, and that's declined to just over half now. So that's a big changeover in tenting, and people are starting off in other types of accommodations besides tents as well. So kind of the intro to camping is changing. Glamping is obviously doing that, glamping and accommodations at campgrounds, and that's what the younger generations are attracted to, as well as boomers who don't want to sleep on the ground anymore. So it's that is kind of a changing dynamic there a bit in terms of generational stuff. I'm gonna go past that. Did we already get the experiences?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh yeah, I'm moving. I moved quite a bit ahead.
Well, go ahead.
It's section 5. What page is this? Page 27. Because I think this is something that I'd like to just talk about for a few minutes here, so we, as instead of going through every page of a 50-page report.
For sure, absolutely. That's what I want you to do.
Good. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength.
I mean, not that it matters what I think. I'm just saying, like, good.
No, this is this is what's important, and it seems to be changing a bit. This camping to reconnect and recharge. These are kind of those emotional connections to the outdoors that I think are super important to consider, and for every campground owner to consider, is that when the people show up, their travel goals are, they want to slow down. This is people are pretty stressed out overall. This is, again, one of those macro things that came up. And Greg, by the way, when you were talking about the mileage thing and how you were applying it to your business, I think that's really cool, because that's a good example of taking a kind of a macro trend, a macro finding, and applying it at a local level. But overall, when you consider that a lot of people out there are pretty stressed out, they're pretty they're working a lot, they're stressed, so they want to show up. One of the things they want to do in their travel is be able to relax, and being outdoors is a great way to do it. And that,
but it's close. It's close.
Yeah,
it's just interesting to me. Sorry, go ahead. That's all I have to say.
No, it's fine. So what you have is kind of, this is to me kind of that a little bit of that throwback as well, where people really, the reason they would go camping is they just want to hang out. A lot of them, they just want to hang out by the campfire and drink a beer or something, or make s'mores with their kids. Where we, in those intervening years, we had, we'll call them the COVID years, you had a lot of people that were out there who were camping because, one, it was the only form of travel that was available at the time, and two, they could work and their kids could go to school remotely. So you had people whose motivations weren't to relax. Wasn't to spend time outdoors. But now they want that. This is what they want, because these are people that are a little bit more motivated by being outdoors. They want to relax. They want to spend time with their families and their friends, and they want to recharge.
This is interesting to me, right? Because I knew what you just said in my head, but I never quite put it together that we assume we lost people for the outdoors, but maybe they were never here to be full-time anyway.
Yeah. I said that during the midst of it. I think if you go back to the old reports, you could probably find it in there that it was one of those things where I didn't feel like I call it the leaky bucket. We brought all these people in and they weren't attached to it. If someone starts camping and their motivation is not to have an outdoors experience or to do these things like the relaxation and stuff, they're not going to hang around. And that's why I feel like, for long-term success, you want to get people in there and you want to encourage them. I'm not saying you can't convert those people. I think you can, and I think we did convert some of them, but it's a little bit more difficult to do. So that's why these experiences and offering these experiences are so important. So when someone shows up to one, like I said, understand that they want to relax, they want to recharge, they want to disconnect, and they want to connect with family, friends, and so on. So that's kind of what it's all about. That's that emotional connection that people get, and that's where hospitality comes in. Your campground atmosphere, where that comes in. How important, because these things have very practical applications. It's not just people sitting around meditating and doing yoga. It's people hanging out by the campfire talking. It's just having a conversation. It's people, we call it forest bathing, but they want to go hiking or just walk in the woods and experience that and relax. So these are the experiences I feel like if we can encourage this, and if campground owners think about how your campground is designed and how where you place people and who's showing up and what they're looking for, it's to me it's the opportunity. Because if you can bring in a family who's kind of stressed out, maybe they left on a Friday afternoon and drove 3 hours, and the kids are cranky and they're cranky, but they come there and all of a sudden now they're relaxing, and within a few minutes they're sitting, they're at their campsite or in their cabin or yurt or whatever, sitting by a campfire, and they crack a cold one, and it's just okay, now I'm relaxed. That person is going to remember that. And they will remember that a long time. And that's so again, kind of getting back to the practical side of it, it's like managing that experience. It becomes super important, and that's what all this data points to. All this stuff about whether it's motivations, goals, what they want to experience, the wellness part that showed up, in terms of all that. It's all part of the same thing. It's all people looking for ways to find some sort of relief, to find some sort of stress and be able to relax. And we saw this with teens a few years ago too, in some of that research. They said that themselves, and what was really important is they said it about their parents, and that was really, really striking.
So, Greg, how do you look at this from a former campground owner's perspective, right? And I know this isn't well defined here intentionally, right? Not criticizing. The slowing down, enjoying the experience, being in the moment, the calm nature stuff that Scott is talking about, exploring natural spaces and places. How do you think about this from a campground owner who, some of which, again, there's two different ways you could, there's lots of different ways you could define this. There's two different ways that I'm going to speak about. One is I've got my RV sites packed really close together, and people might be in the moment, but are they enjoying the experience? Are they really connecting to the outdoors? Or do I build the glamping sites or like we talked to the lady from Alaska who was on the podcast earlier today, the 3 tri-wide or whatever sites in Alaska, right? There's, like how do you not resonate, how do you adapt and understand that from a campground owner's perspective and realize that maybe there's a path to making more money through less inventory?
Yeah, through fewer sites packed less closely together. It's really tough, and it really depends on the people you're talking to and their mindset. And it's what you just described, the sites sort of packed in. That's kind of an older model now. Well, that's a lot of parks in the US. They were built during the 60s or the 70s or even the 80s and 90s. And they were crammed in. Hey, I got to get, and look, who can blame them, right? It's all about how much return I can get for each square foot that I'm giving somebody. But now things are changing. So what do? Do you have to go hire a firm and develop a new master plan and sort of look at, what, we might want to pull out 3 sites in this row of 12 and make these premium experience sites, patio sites with more space, with a pet pen, because boy, look down there, I can bring my dog with me, is quite a ways up there for campers, right? So we put the pet pen on it, and you make each one a luxurious, spacious place where they can actually play on their site. Whereas the old model was pack them in, right? And if the awning can open up and it just barely misses the glide out, that's plenty of room. That's all they need. They're going to go to other parts of the campground and recreate.
That in and of itself is an experience. Will it make it? Will it make it? Will it make it? Yes.
It is. It is an experience. It's also an experience to walk out of your RV and go, what's that sound? Oh, Christ, that's the neighbors. Let's go back in. Let's give them some privacy. We should go back inside.
No, all campers like hanging out with their neighbors, Greg.
Yeah, but not when they're inside their RV. And in those parks, that's what's going on. You're basically hanging out from the inside. But it's kind of interesting because essentially what Scott was saying just now and what the distance data and everything said is that campers I'll sacrifice those beautiful views and that super remote location and all of the things that might bring me that I might like. Boy, I'll sacrifice that for a smooth drive with family that isn't making me crazy in the vehicle. So the drive is shorter. It's a smooth drive with a seamless check-in and a luxurious campsite. I'll trade those views for that any day if it makes the trip there better, right? So if you're building a park, that goes back to what I was talking about, get closer to that metro area. You want to try to build an entire experience for people, even plan the drive. What's the drive like to your location from that area? If you can get that smooth drive, they'll come to see you if you're well appointed and you kind of cover these things that we're talking about here on this page, give them the better experience. Absolutely. The other thing that I wanted to ask you guys, so here's a question because it's just swirling through my head now, and I don't know why I haven't thought of it before, but so the other thing that people did during the pandemic was upgrade their homes. Right, we all heard the stories about how you can't find a toilet anywhere if you need one to replace it because everybody's remodeling and everybody's fixing things in their homes. But they were also adding
because you couldn't even find toilet paper. How are you going to take a shit?
Right, that's what bidet sales went through the roof.
People don't think long term here.
So
okay, sorry.
No, but so people built pools in record numbers. They did a ton of additions to their homes and recreation space, and I'm not saying everybody has that. But if it happened at such a level that it even affected supply chains, right, and the availability of things, how many people did we lose that were maybe not hardcore campers, but were they on the fringe? And then they went, why do I have to go camping? I'm just going to build this space at home that I love to be in. I have a fire pit and a private yard and a deck, right? Did maybe, I don't know, Scott, if there's anything that you've seen or if
we need a study on that, Greg, or Scott. We're like, for those of you who are probably wondering or not wondering, we're bringing back our MC reports. We're just taking a pause and revamping it and making it better. We need to do a study on that, Scott.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm curious your opinions on that. If you think there's something, it sounds like there could be something there, but it just, as we're going through this, I'm thinking, I wonder how many people are now going, you know what? Because you're also competing with like Netflix and the couch, right? If I can get the family together.
My perspective on this? Like I've never been an RVer, to be clear. So I think there's better data than me. But like I do love being outside. I do love being in nature. I do love sitting. Like I like hiking and biking and doing all that stuff, right? Well, maybe not biking. My girlfriend will yell at me if I say that because my bike's been in the garage for like 10 months. But like I like being outside, right? Near the water, near the rivers, all that kind of stuff. During COVID, maybe, I don't know, after COVID, maybe like 2022, I think. I had an apartment with a big, huge balcony. I was on the show like for a while, and I put like a bunch of furniture out there. I put like a really nice fire pit. I put like awning. I put like a waterfall, like which I have to buy a new one now because it cracked over the winter because I was too lazy to take it inside. But that's another story. Anyway, but like I liked it. Like I built plants and put evergreens out there, and so I spent a lot of time out there. So I think there's a valid discussion point to what you're talking about, is what I'm trying to say. Like that allows me to escape into not the ideal perfect area that I'd love to spend every day in, but a whole lot more than spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a trip.
And if you already spent 50 grand making your oasis at home,
I mean,
I
do
feel compelled. I'm sorry, not. And
Yeah.
that would be 50 grand Canadian anyway, which would be like $8.
Yeah, that's true.
Nah,
Yeah.
that's a joke.
like
I'm sorry.
9.
I love Canadians.
It's
Don't
9 now.
take
It's
it
been
the
going in
wrong
the
way.
right direction.
But yeah, do you then feel obligated to, you know what? I think we're going to stay at home. Maybe we'll have some friends over, or maybe we'll just chill in our new beautiful space that we've only been using for the last, 3-4 years. Do they still feel obligated to use that? Do they feel enough like they've got what they need at home to kind of cover those
I'll be
needs?
honest. I don't. Like I've got a hot tub out there, right? I'm gonna go sit in it tonight.
Now
So
you're
like,
just bragging. This is just bragging. It just went
no,
over
I'm
into a
just saying
totally
like there
different
are
area.
luxury RV resorts who are putting in these hot tubs, but like there's a subset of people who have them every day at home.
Yeah.
Like before I had a hot tub, which was all of my life until I moved into this house, and it was already here, right?
Yeah.
Before that, like I didn't have a hot tub, so it was a novelty for me to go to a resort or a hotel with a hot tub where I could sit out on the deck or even inside. Like I would look for the rooms with the whirlpool jets and stuff like that.
Yep.
And now it's nice, but I'm like, okay, but I have that. It was the same when I moved to Canada in 2021, and this is even more spoiled, but like I was in an Airbnb that wasn't really that expensive because it was right in the middle of COVID and nobody was staying there, but it was literally on the water, like right on the river in Calgary, like literally like you could look over the like it was right there, like a foot away, the river. And so like it became a situation where I used to like to go on vacation and I would love to get like riverfront cabins, and then I'm looking at them like, but my house is better than like, but right. And
Yeah.
so now I'm not on the river anymore. So it's different, but it's interesting how that stuff changes your psychology.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm curious about.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a great question. Novelty versus, versus usage. Kind of goes back to the earlier point. Like, are people, do they actually come and use it? I firmly believe that there's a lot of amenities that at campgrounds that people say they're attracted to and go into their decision and they never use them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, it has these things because it's kind of like an indicator of maybe a higher level experience or something like that. But yeah, it still drives behavior. So yeah, no, I think it's a great topic.
All right, so let's move on. But before we do, I don't want to be nitpicky with this data, but did anybody notice that 45% of campers like spending time together with loved ones, but only 26% want to feel connected to them?
Yeah.
Anyway,
isn't that every family holiday though? So like
I don't want
to show up and you're like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
go to the other side of the room, would you? Right?
But the leisure travelers are the same. They love spending time together and connecting. That's like a 1 percentage point difference. So I don't know what that says about campers.
I don't either, but I know what it says about family members, and that is, every family's got those people, and if you don't know who they are, it's you.
You'll find out on a camping trip.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Go camping, you'll know where you stand.
And
all right, where are we going, Scott? Or what else?
Let's go to there's on page what page did I see this on?
We can do more of this next week, by the way, if we need to. So don't feel too much pressure.
Okay. Well, let's stick with this theme a little bit, because then next week we can talk about how about tech. a little bit.
Okay.
And so, like on the following page, the wellness, the whole idea of water features, I think is interesting. If you, I tell this to anyone who will listen to me, campground owners, it's like the whole idea of people love, you know, and you talked about this already, Brian, of being by the river, being on the water. People love that. It's part of. So if you have a campground that has water features, it's a winner. People find it relaxing. We looked at this too in terms of people's behaviors. What, you know, like they want to go to the beach, they want to walk on the beach. You know, so, you know, again, it kind of builds on that theme a little bit. You know, these other types of experiences like, you know, forest bathing, or that was called grounding, which is walking barefoot.
Why do we have to have a fancy term for everything to people to do it? Though?
I don't know. It bothers me. Believe me.
Fuck you. I don't want to walk barefoot. How about grounding? Oh yeah, that's awesome.
So it's marketing people. What do you mean? Fuck you. It's you, dude. It's your people. They're the ones that do this. Like every 5 years, they got to come up with a new term for everything.
We did that. We should get back to that, Scott. We did. We were creating data terms on the one show you missed. We were making up outdoor hospitality data definitions. Go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
Yeah. So that whole idea, anyway, of it kind of is just building on that. And yes, everyone, like again, forest bathing. The first time I heard it, I thought like everybody else does, it's a bathtub in the woods, but which I think, by the way, has a
lot of appeal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think people are missing out on the real opportunity here with forest bathing. Yep. I fully believe that. But you know, and just to kind of build on this theme a little bit, it's on page 33. It's the strengthening family connections, which you just astutely pointed out that sometimes connecting isn't what they want. And we did some work about a year ago about how people's kind of their own kind of moods and expectations were before a trip for themselves and their kids, and what it was like after the trip. And it was interesting to see how far off the parents were and how the kids felt.
Shocking.
And they were, but what was similarly interesting was how spot on the kids were about their parents. It was really interesting and that's
a good thing. You hope your kids get smarter than you, right?
Yeah. Like the kids really were in tune with their parents. Like, and after the trip, one of the things that I found most fascinating was that the parents were still said that, oh, I'm still a little stressed out. I've, you know, putting things away is hectic, all that, you know, some of those things. And the kids were like, oh, they're way more relaxed. It's like they noticed a big difference. So that was the one, you know, kind of area where it felt like there was the kids weren't maybe as in tune, or maybe the parents were more relaxed than they realized.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this whole idea of, you know, kind of the family experience. And I remember talking about this topic with Earl from Black Folks Camp 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that, you know, a lot of times like the camping experience doesn't hold with young Black kids. Like their desire to continue camping is pretty low. And, you know, we during our conversation, you know, we started talking about this whole family thing, and he goes, well, that's one of the reasons it doesn't take. He goes, if these kids go out camping as part of a group, you know, so say you have, you know, they go with a group that takes kids on outings and stuff,
they identify
and their family's not involved, then it doesn't take, or it, you know, but if they go out with their family, it does. So it really reinforces the idea of how important the family experience is overall for campers.
I would have thought it would have been the reverse, right? Just which is what I just said, and literally shot myself in the foot before he talked, right? But I would have thought it would have been the reverse, like if you connect with a buddy who's maybe your good friend, but if it's just a group of people you maybe don't know too well, then I think that's different, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, obviously it if you do have your buddies there, it's impactful, but if you went long term, it's like the family outings, because when they become adults, and some of these kids will probably not camp for a while, but then when they become adults, they're going to want their kids to have the experience. So it is the importance of the family and the group is super important. Though Gen Z is the group who says that one of their least favorite parts about camping is their travel mates, their peer group. So they go out with their peer group and they don't like them. So it's kind of interesting. But one of the things that this research did too was it showed how the level of engagement that people have, with like their kids, in terms of them saying that they feel more engaged with their kids during these trips. So it reinforces that, the whole idea that these family trips are really important in terms of keeping people involved in camping, but they're also important in terms of keeping people keeping the kind of those, reinforcing those family relationships and so on. So yeah, that that's kind of part of that whole it kind of builds on that whole theme of the wellness, the connecting, disconnecting to reconnect, all those things. And there's obviously a lot more to talk about, and we can continue these topics later on. I think solo travel is an interesting topic.
Let's dive into these for a couple weeks. Like, we can do that.
Yeah. So let's revisit those topics, because I think some of them, I think solo travel would make a really nice topic to talk about for a while.
Good, we'll do that. Then you just let us know, like Saturday, Sunday, whenever we're planning, right? Send an email back and forth or whatever.
Yep.
Say, like, I want to focus on these 2 or 3 things, right?
Yep.
And we'll do that until we run out of things. And that's fine with us. We'll spend a portion of the show.
There's a lot in here. As you guys know, I can talk a lot, and I can talk all day. So we'll hammer it. But no, Greg, I really, again, it's really nice to have the perspective of someone who owned a campground and is that close to campground ownership and so on too, just because it kind of reinforces the idea of what we're trying to do with this work as well. I mean, when this was initiated 11 years ago, Jim Rogers was the CEO, and he was a part of getting that going, and he felt really strongly about trying to help improve the industry. And to this day, he's still a cheerleader for camping.
Yep.
And he's still involved. So that was the impetus of this in its first iteration.
And I remember getting my hands on it the very first time. We converted to KOA in 2012 going into 2013. So it was just 1 year later that these started.
Oh my God, you did it without data? You're so brave.
I know. Well, they gave me all the data I needed. Larry Brownfield is the man. And he talking to him and other KOA owners is what did it. But anyway, not to derail, but when I saw the first one, I was like, this is awesome. I hope these continue. And here we are 11 years later, and it's so insightful. I don't know if people use them enough. I doubt it. I mean, hopefully everyone out there that's an owner or operator has this and is digging into it, and just let it turn your wheels and start asking questions. And there's so much good information in this report.
I want, when we study our thing on the backyard decks and all that stuff, how many people can make s'mores in their backyard now?
Everybody.
I mean, it's just interesting that like the camping, 50% of campers camping without children are most excited about s'mores. Do you take off 20% of that, 30% of that? Like, they're still excited, right? But are they as excited if they have a fire pit and all the backyard things that they may or may not have built during the pandemic, which we don't have numbers on yet?
It really depends on how crafty people are too. I mean, you give me a mini marshmallow, some crumbs, a chocolate chip, and like a Bic lighter, I'll make a s'more. I don't need much. I can go like bushcraft s'mores if I need to. So it all depends.
One of the things we used to make was the banana. You slice the banana down the middle and put the chocolate and then wrap it in foil.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or you replace your chocolate with Reese's peanut butter cup.
Oh, that's the MVP move right there.
Spectacular. Spectacular.
Are we going to flying cars? Is that what we're doing
Mhm.
now? Okay. So we're going to flying cars, Lisa, so you can stop sharing my screen, and we're going to watch some videos. Before we do that, though, just click on the share button and let me see the videos you have available, Lisa. I've never watched any of these videos. I don't remember watching it anyway. So we'll just go maybe a little bit in order. But before you share the first one, Lisa, I think I want to preface this by saying there's a couple reasons I wanted to have this conversation, right? Number one is what brought it up to the top of my news feed was China. And I know we all have a love-hate relationship with China right now for various different reasons. But like they just recently approved the first flying cars to be used in personal leisure. Like I don't think you can use them to transport other people yet in China. And I have to go, like I didn't get a chance to study the law as much as I wanted to. But there's at least 2 companies who are approved for like you have a personal flying vehicle, you can buy it from us, you can go like zip it around the cities and do whatever you want with it, right? And as you'll see in some of these videos, they're actually doing some, and have been for years, some studies on this in Sao Paulo, I think, Brazil, in Australia, and a number of other places. The FAA is already inspecting some of these vehicles. They're looking at it. There's companies that are getting it in front of them. They're making adjustments. These are years and years and years in the making, and a lot closer than you guys think to being reality. And I think I want to show some of these, and then I want to give some thoughts maybe on how this might change the campground industry. And I'd love to hear your guys' take too. But I think it's important to start off with like, this shit is a lot closer than you think it is, just like AI and robotics is. Much more closer than I thought before doing the research on this. So let's play Joby first. So we're gonna play a couple videos from a few different companies. They're all short, but just to give you an idea of where this technology is. So Joby is the first company here. And Lisa will play this. You got to go start the video on the other thing, Lisa. On the other, with the screen you're sharing. Nope, that's the wrong one. That's all right. We'll get there. It's the one that says Joby building the future of clean flight. It's probably the first tab. To the left of, yeah, it's Joby. No, it's building the future of clean flight. It should have like a little like bar over it. Like it's one to the left of that probably. The tab that you're on. It has a little thing over it that says you're sharing your screen. To the left of it. Nope, to the left of the tab you were just on. Joby building the future of clean flight. Play it and then we'll see. Nope. Is there one to the left of United?
Yay!
$20.25, boys. Uber, Delta. So that's one company. Let's watch one or two more, and then we'll comment. We'll take a break and comment. So go ahead and just share another tab, Lisa. Well, you got to go share the other tab on there so I can see what you're picking. So just replace screen sharing is what you want to click. And then, yeah, let's do United Airlines and Archer. I don't think I have an intro on Archer, so. We looked at Delta and Uber at this other company. This is United
At SFO.
Airlines.
As you can see behind me, some of the great planes we're all used to flying, the 737s, the Dreamliners. But today, we're excited to show you Midnight. This is our aircraft wrapped in the United livery that we're going to be launching here at SFO and around the world. United's been one of Archer's best partners and longest standing partners. They've been on this journey to bring advanced aviation to the mass public. We're going to be taking these aircraft and finding ways to integrate them in with the big airplanes that everybody flies in the commercial airspace today. And we're excited to be launching our San Francisco network with them.
So all these videos you're watching are within the last couple weeks or couple months that I could find. I think the oldest one was 6 months, right? So Archer with United, you saw the other one, Joby was with Delta and with Uber. Let's watch, we have 2 on Beta. Let's do Meet Beta, and then we'll show you with Beta and FAA, and then we'll get you guys' thoughts on where we're at.
We're Beta, and we're an electric aerospace company.
We are pilots.
We are data scientists.
We are 3D artists.
I'm an engineer.
A&P.
Project management.
Former Marine.
Fluid engineering for batteries.
I came from the FAA.
I came from the National Test Pilot School. Recovering lawyer. Mechanics.
We came from Vermont, and we're building electric airplanes. All forms of transportation are going electric, and aviation is next. It's better for the environment and costs less to fly. When Kyle met Martine Rothblatt, a friendship formed around a few simple philosophies: following first principles engineering, working hard to find simplicity in designs, and building a team of people who are creative, passionate about their work, and authentically themselves. Martine told us she wanted an aircraft with a 50-foot wingspan that could take off and land vertically and perform reliably to carry supercritical medical cargo. So we built Aaliyah. We tested it in the cold, we tested it at night, we flew it vertically. Martine flew it. Fast forward a few years, and we have multiple aircraft and multiple customers.
We're very excited about the partnership we have with Beta Technologies.
Our charge network has expanded across the East Coast. The bigger our network gets, the more fuel we can eliminate from package delivery, and that's a good thing. Our motors have quadrupled in power density since we started making them a few years ago. From the early days of building our first aircraft, we learned that we are made stronger by the company we keep. And we've expanded with that mindset to make the transition from a research and development company to a production company.
Thank you, sir.
Our production facility has net zero emissions. We use on-site solar and geothermal energy to power our assembly lines, so there are no greenhouse emissions, just like our aircraft. We're building a green aircraft in a green production facility in the Green Mountain State. We got here by learning from our mistakes, sticking to our mission, and keeping our promises. And that's what's going to get us to the finish line. We're an electric aerospace company, a collection of people who know that really hard-working, committed folks can change the world. And we've got more work to do.
Okay, so Scott, I know you got to jump here in a second. So we have one more video from Beta about the FAA, but let's early thoughts on this, and then I'll tell you where I think it's going to go, and then you can jump, and then we can watch some more videos.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think this is it's going to change transportation. I mean, I just think
soon, right? Everybody thinks this is 15 years away because we saw the Jetsons and we're like, oh, that didn't happen for 25 years.
No, I'm still going to say I still want the jetpack, but I won't go there right now. But no, this I mean, when you think about like transportation from the airport, all the you think the time you spend, all those things. I mean, this is what people are craving, is a solution that is pretty cool, but one that has. Oh, I just had a visitor. The the whole idea that one, using cleaner energy, two, getting people there more efficiently, all those things, and it's yeah, I think it just looks like the future to me, and it's happening. The future is really quick.
Yeah, Greg and I are going to talk about and explore this a little bit, but because I want to talk about like how to impact campgrounds and RV parks. The one thing I would like to get your opinion on before you jump real quick is, how does this impact people who live in a city? We talk a lot about people who live in dense urban areas, right? Like Toronto and Cleveland and New York City. And maybe those people would like to explore the outdoors, but it's hard as fuck to get to the outdoors.
Absolutely.
Like 2 hours in traffic, right? Or even the storing of your RV. Where does that go? I don't have a driveway.
Yep.
And I think these flying cars, boy, do they unlock some serious revenue potential for
Absolutely.
campgrounds that are just outside cities within 2-3 hours.
Yep. A couple of years ago, we had some meetings in New York City, and some of the folks there from a couple of the agencies, we were talking about how they should go and stay at some of the campgrounds. It was with KOA, and like, oh, you should go stay at like Terramore or something like that, and none of them had vehicles, and they were like, well, we'd have to do find a different way of transportation to get there. So it's I think it's huge what you're talking about. I think, Brian, is like, you hit the nail on the head. I think that issue right there, because there are so many people who live in the crowded urban areas that do not have transportation, who would, I mean, we actually asked this question a couple of years ago about people who took no vehicle vacations. Like, do you do that? How many people are doing it? And it's a surprising number of people who don't have vehicles that have to look for an alternative. So this kind of solution, I think it's a great solution for the camping industry, getting people to out to campgrounds through this kind of transport. For a campground owner too, it's probably better. You don't have as many vehicles on site.
Mm-hmm.
So you have people showing up and they don't have a vehicle, and you can put them in a cabin or a yurt or something, and it's like, yeah, what a huge opportunity.
Yeah,
Greg,
especially for glamping. I think
Yes.
glamping, especially, that really sets you up for that.
So,
do you have to jump, Scott? I want to give you
I do, unfortunately. Thanks, guys. We'll regroup.
Don't worry, we're going to give the secret tip about real estate while you're gone. So
Figures. I always miss out. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, Scott.
So, Greg, your thoughts, and then I have a couple statistics, then we'll just jump back and forth. We only have a couple more videos, right?
So, couple of things. First of all, Joby, and I apologize if I'm stepping on you, but
No.
their flight from Manhattan out to JFK is expected to cost around $200, which is actually about the same as an Uber Black Ride. So, and they think as they scale,
that's
they'll
going to
get
come
it
way
down.
down when they scale.
Correct. Yep, they think they'll be able to get it down to a standard Uber, to a standard rideshare, which is insane. Like, who's not going to? I can go through traffic and have all those potential delays, or for the same price, I can go to the top of a skyscraper, wherever they're going to land this thing, get on, be out at JFK, and be done with it. That's one that I think is absolutely insane. And then going to the point you guys were just making about people living in big, dense urban centers that don't have cars, just a really quick search turned up in, this is car-free households, and I didn't think it would be this big. I knew it would be big. New York City has 1.8 million car-free households. That's one city with 1.8 million car-free households. So how many people is that? Is that like two and a half or so people per? That is a ton of people. And Boston has about 100,000 that are car-free households. So that Two cities.
This is why it's crazy to me, and I don't want to get off topic from flying cars, but this is why it's crazy to me when like I have people call me up from like the Catskill Mountains. We want to target New York City. Why? Most of them don't have cars. How do you think they're getting to you? But
A lot of them
people
don't.
come from New York City. That might be true, but those are the ones with cars.
Yep,
You're gonna waste a lot of
54%.
ad money and clicks. When people are like, oh,
54%
shit,
of
I gotta have a
households
car?
in New York do not have cars. 54% of all households in New York City do not have a car. That still leaves you a fucking ton of people, right?
Yeah,
Obviously,
for sure.
There's millions and millions of people, but you make a good point. Yeah, a bunch of them can't get to you, right? Until now,
Yeah,
or potentially
and
later
now,
this
like,
year.
and we'll watch a couple things that videos that we haven't seen in a second. The next one we'll watch is from that Beta Technologies. They have a video that I found about them having the FAA out and testing them, and so they have a video of that. So I did a little bit of research with Grok. Lisa, you can put this up on the screen if you want. I don't know. I'm not going to read all this and scroll through it. I have never read it before, by the way. But research suggests that flying cars or EV, I like flying cars better. I'm not even going to say that. Could begin commercial operations in the U.S. as early as 2025, pending FAA approval. It seems likely that Joby, who we do, Archer, we have videos on them later, are leading with significant, or actually we did Archer with United Airlines, sorry, are leading with significant progress in FAA certification. The evidence leans toward 2025 as a target for initial launches, though delays are possible due to regulatory complexities. And then, so it talks about what's flying cars. Flying cars are, just briefly, electric vehicle takeoff and landing aircraft. They are electric-powered vehicles designed to bypass traffic by flying short distances in urban areas. They take off and land vertically like helicopters, but are quieter and more sustainable, aiming to revolutionize city travel. In the beginning, you don't think that batteries are going to get very quickly better? For sure they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then FAA approval process ensures these aircrafts are safe through a rigorous certification process. In October 2024, the FAA finalized rules for pilot training and powered lift aircraft operations, a major step forward. Companies must complete multiple stages, including design reviews and flight tests, to get approved. Joby and Archer are targeting 2025 for commercial launches, with Joby planning FAA flight tests in 2025. However, timelines could shift. If all goes well, you might see air taxis in cities like New York or Chicago by late 2025. This is here now, guys.
Yep. And that doesn't take into consideration things like the Jetson or the Helix. Pivotal is the company, I guess, makes the Helix. Those are, really small individual eVTOLs.
Yeah.
But they're, $100,000 to $200,000. I mean, that's out of reach for a lot of people. But again, they've only been for sale for like a year.
Right. That cost is going to start dropping quickly.
Yep. And their range will increase.
When you put robots into plants to make them.
Yeah, sure. Right.
So anyway, let's watch a couple videos, and I'll just scroll through this while we see it and see if there's anything interesting for me to share. So let's do the FAA one. So this is let's see, Build Dog. Did you close the other ones that we already watched? Okay. Where's the beta one? Oh, the FAA one at the top, Build Log. Yep.
This plane rolled from the structural assembly jig empty over to where we install all of the systems and test them out. I think it's 8 days ago now. My name's Andrew Giro. I work at Beta Technologies doing electronics, circuit boards, wires, and systems. And we're here right now at North Hangar at the Burlington International Airport. Yeah, so today we took the aircraft, finished manufacturing earlier this morning at our production facility on the other side of the airport. We brought up here to North Hangar to demonstrate it to the FAA. One of their requirements for us was to demonstrate that the engine indications are displayed to the pilot, and the easiest way to do that is to bring it out here, boot up the high voltage systems, run the engine, and demonstrate those indications. So that was literally the last checkbox to make this airworthiness certificate happen, so that we have legal permission to go fly this plane as of right now. I think people are tired but very ecstatic. This is the third airworthiness certificate I've ever gotten on an ALIA, or at least been a major part of getting on an ALIA, and it's pretty awesome that in America you can build an airplane, you can demonstrate that it's safe, and the government will let you go fly it. And so we're very excited to do that. I think everyone is really excited.
How about a round of applause?
Okay, that dude won't fit in the plane. Jesus, where'd they drag him out from? That guy's enormous.
Come on, man. We're not going to be like mean to people.
I'm not being mean. I'm just saying he does not fit in the airplane.
Facts are facts. Okay.
So that's more of a typical aircraft design, right? It's not VTOL.
Yeah, but they're not like,
up.
I mean, people think of flying cars and they think like literally the cars are going to lift. That's not what it's going to be. Guys,
not necessarily, right? Those definitely have a different application. The VTOLs can certainly work in tighter spaces, work in those tight urban areas because you don't have to build a runway for it. But yeah.
Well, they can get people out of the cities, right? So this is like and so I'm looking at like this Grok research report. Joby Aviation FAA certification process completed 3 of 5 stages in final phase TIA testing plan for 2025. Archer, and I'm just reading the FAA certification for time, received Part 135 and Part 141 certificates, final airworthiness certificate criteria issued. Beta Technologies is advancing towards certification. Eve Air Mobility is working on certification targeting 2026. Whisk Aero is certifying autonomous flight. Jaunt Air Mobility is aiming for certification. Lift Aircraft is ultralight category, no type certification needed. I don't know what that means. If you can just fly it, or Opener is the name of the company. Ultralight rules, no type certifications. These might be the smaller ones that you were talking about. Aleph Aeronautics certification pending, plans for 2025, and ASCA certification process underway. I only ask it for the top 10. So I thought there was only going to be 5 or 6. Apparently I was wrong there. So these are coming a little bit faster than we think. Any thoughts before we move on to the next video?
No, we should answer Sabin's question though. We did have a question from the chat. Do you think flying cars will be first, then high-speed trains, or will there be both? I'll jump at that first. I think that we are so woefully behind the rest of the world on high-speed trains that maybe they pop up here and there, but you got things like trying to establish the track for that, eminent domain, all that. Flying cars are going to be here. They're already here, so we're certainly going to see them. My opinion, they're going to be a hell of a lot more of them in a much shorter term. I mean, I hope we adopt some high-speed rail where we can, but we didn't pick it up as well as other countries around the world did. We really missed the boat or train, I guess, on that, my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's different over here than it is in Europe. Like even in Canada, right? We're just so far apart. There's so much land that it becomes harder for for sure we should have done more building of it probably.
Yeah.
But it's a lot different landscape than driving, 2 hours from Paris to London or whatever else, right?
Yep. Or in Japan.
Right.
Or,
100%.
Yep.
I 100% agree with the flying cars. Like it's just, you don't have to build the track. You don't have to build the infrastructure. You just have to throw up a landing pad for VTOL.
And then away you go.
And you're off. You're gone, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Especially with low emission and stuff like that. Let's look at just pick the top one. Making mobile air a reality. We'll do that. This is Eve, which is one
I like that logo.
Okay, I think there's one more, Lisa, from Eve, which is either Sao Paulo or it's Australia. I think it. Make sure that's Eve integrating. Oh, there's another one from Eve. Just find that one. Yeah. This is Sao Paulo. So this is the Eve company we just watched working with the Sao Paulo government, I guess.
At Eve, we are working to develop digital systems essential to enable urban air mobility to scale in volume. As soon as eVTOL aircraft becomes a reality and demand begins to increase, we will need solutions like Vector, already implemented and available, to enable operations to scale safely and integrate with existing operations. And that's what we are working to achieve. We've teamed up with Revo to use Vector, Eve's software solution for urban air traffic coordination, to simulate how new systems can optimize flight operations for helicopters and eVTOLs in real situations. Also, we are demonstrating how new solutions for UAM can be implemented step by step while already delivering value for current helicopter operations. An air operation in an urban environment like we do here in São Paulo today, it's a complex operation, an environment that is shared by multiple operators, multiple types of aircraft, with permanent challenge to deal with. Today at Revo we have this expertise and we're happy to share all these learnings with Eve for their vector development to ensure that the software will be, as we fully trust, a great tool to allow the escalation without compromising safety and that we keep a good level of operational efficiency as well.
As Revo transitions into the second phase of advanced air mobility, managing the airspace is crucial. Vector is the solution that will help us transition in that way. So we're very happy to partner with Eve this week in simulating the first trial in São Paulo.
The goal of this collaboration is to conduct a real-world simulation to set the stage for a new and efficient way of commuting around the city in a climate-conscious manner. We are very proud to partner with OHI, Brazil's largest private helicopter services provider, and their new company, Revo. But I can assure you that our relationship is just getting started. Eve and Revo are also partnering to encourage critical AAM stakeholder collaboration to develop the best-in-class eVTOL operation practices, the air management protocol, and the ground handling. We believe that eVTOLs are a key piece to the future of urban mobility, and we are committed to creating a future where electric flights will be safe, more democratic, and carbon neutral.
Did you see that? It was OHI? Paul Bambi's leading the way.
I did not catch that, no.
It was OHI. It was the company, not OHI.
Oh,
man.
man.
It was OHI, yeah. So like that's just, I mean, again, we're not even through like a couple, like I don't have videos and everybody, I think I have 2 more videos for us to watch, right?
No, but let's dive into your where you think this is going, because I think that's the most interesting piece.
I mean, this is fascinating to me from a real estate standpoint, right? Like we talked about people escaping the cities and all that kind of stuff. Real estate has long been one of those safe investments, and I'm by no means a real estate expert, but it's always been if the market is uncertain or something's happening in the world or this technology is going up and this one's going down or, you know, whatever is happening, it's always been like, we'll go to real estate. Real estate always appreciates, right? And I think that's still true, and I think it will be true. I think that there's a whole nother show we could do on the type of real estate that will be valuable, because I think that dramatically changes when you can 3D print a home anywhere. And maybe where your kids don't need to live within 5 miles of school to take a bus, and some interesting things there, right? But so I'm still a believer in real estate, but I think and I did this exercise with deep research on ChatGPT. I think there are some really interesting, super fucking cheap islands that have no infrastructure, that have no docks, that are in the middle of nowhere, that are perfectly suited for flat land, that you could just put a eVTOL landing pad on, and boom, you have a luxury glamping resort with a few tents that, by the way, you can fly all the materials there with the flying car. or a helicopter or whatever else. And those, man, like if you look for some of those islands, I found some really cheap ones that like, and we ran it through a whole thinking exercise with ChatGPT. And it was like, this island is like, maybe this one was 6 million or whatever, right? And we were looking at British Columbia and Alberta, so it's Canadian. But like this one was 6 million. This one was like, we found one as low as 175,000. It looked really nice. But we had it run it through a whole analysis of like, where is it located? What city is it near? How far away is it? Why hasn't it been developed? What would be the potential ROI just if I never developed it, but like if flying cars became a thing? And then I just flipped it. And like 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10x. Like if you're sleeping on this, you're going to miss a big opportunity. And it's not saying that that's going to be a flip next year, but boy, if you buy some of this stuff and hold for 5 or 10 years, that's going to be some nice cash in your pocket.
There's definitely potential, right? I mean, you got to pick within. Some of these things have really limited range right now.
For sure, you got to guess,
right?
but you're guessing the same as buying campground land.
Exactly. This is a bigger risk, right? Because how much do they improve these things? How far out? Is there something that comes along and disrupts this whole thing? Doesn't look like there will be.
If you buy a good deal,
yeah,
real estate almost certainly is not going down.
Nope, generally not.
So that's my argument. But like, I think this changes the whole game. Not just
I think
from
it definitely it levels up the exclusivity too, right? Even if you're not talking about maybe you're not talking about islands, but just a landlocked piece of land that is really beautiful. The conversation we had earlier where I tell people don't buy that land that's in the middle of nowhere because people aren't going to want to drive that far just for the pretty view when they can get it closer to home, right? And we saw the data that Scott had about people staying closer to home. Now this makes it kind of cool. Now there's a cool factor involved where you drive out 50 minutes or you drive out an hour from home and then you get in the VTOL and they pack up all your gear and stuff. And then you take a 40-minute flight in the VTOL and it sets you down at this glamping resort that is in the middle of nowhere and you have it all to yourself. I mean, it really, the experience of it. And
Lisa, just open your mic and talk.
What remains to be seen, I guess, is the, is that a novelty? Does that hold as we go forward and everybody gets one of these things? We'll see, but I agree with you. I think there's an awful lot of potential.
Everybody's not going to, here's the difference, right? Everybody's not going to own one of these. Lisa, open your mic and ask your question.
I want to know how they're not going to all fly into each other. Like the videos just show one flying around. There's all sorts of space, but what if there's hundreds of them?
Autonomous AI pilots.
That's the
same way flying cars, or same way like autonomous cars. Like in 20 years, you'll start to I don't know how penetrated this will be, right? In 20 years for sure, maybe a lot sooner. You're going to see like autonomous cars going down the expressway or speedway or highway or whatever you want to call it, depending on what country you're in, and they'll be like 2 inches away from each other.
Yeah,
on the highways because they can all real time communicate with each other. That's how you're going to avoid all that stuff happening in there, right?
Yep. The thing that'll keep it slow is that governments have to buy into it, test it, and approve it. That takes forever.
Yeah.
But and that's kind of what it sounded like. Eve, that second Eve video, it sounds like that's what they're working on, is not just the vehicle itself and the flight and how much it'll cost, but the in-air experience and how these things will talk to each other, how they'll avoid each other. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what it sounded like they were leaning into in that second Eve video.
And this but like all this stuff is going to improve as you see, like, again, now you've got, agree with him or not, you've got a man in government, Donald Trump, who's being influenced by a man who is very much in favor of autonomous vehicles and AI, Elon, who, I don't know if he's invested in any flying car companies, but like the path to autonomous flying is much easier when you already have autonomous cars.
Mm-hmm.
And so all these regulations are not going to be as burdensome as they were in probably past administrations. So this stuff starts to move faster. And as you have AI moving faster too, this is going to speed up everything behind the scenes too, because all these large language models, just like we're talking about robots, are going to be able to see the world and identify objects and understand what they're flying over and communicate with each other and do Like, it's just all, this is what I'm talking about when I say a century of change in 10 years. It's coming, guys. I'm not even ready for it. And I'm a geek and I study this stuff and I love change. Boy, that's a lot of change that you're going to see. But if you can like take a low risk, like real estate even, that we're talking about, and you can sit on it for 10, 15, 20 years, like these are for sure coming. Nobody's going to own them. And here's the difference, right? Like some people will own them, right? But like the majority of people won't own them. Like just like in the future, the majority of people will not own cars because there will be cars everywhere. There will be 12,000 Tesla robo-taxis in your city that will just know and be connected to your personal calendar and will send one to be waiting outside your house when you need to leave for your meeting, and you won't even need to touch your phone. There's no point in owning a car in that scenario, especially in a city. But like once the ranges get going, right, to 2, 3, 4, I mean, the cars are already there, hours, it will just be there and it will know. And it's the same way with a flying car. They won't own the flying cars. There will be enough of these at scale, and they'll be expensive to start, right? There'll be the $200 hop like we were talking about, right?
Yep.
But there'll be enough of them to where people, like, where are you going to garage it? It's the same thing as an RV, right?
Right.
But like if you live in a high rise, like you have a helipad at the top of your hospital or your building or wherever else, or you can go out of your apartment if it doesn't have a helipad and walk 2 blocks and go up, take the elevator to the helipad, especially in an area, right? So that's how they're going to scale.
Yep.
Is they're not going to be owned by a lot of people. It's coming really fast. Let's watch a couple more videos. I think we only got 2 left.
Level of adventure and exploration that feels similar because there is some going into the unknown. Wisk is pursuing one thing, the first certified passenger-carrying autonomous electric aircraft. The problem that we're trying to solve here is making that system robust enough so that it can be certified to carry people with the level of safety that people expect when they get on a commercial aircraft. So I think it's going to be a magical experience to get inside this machine that is powered by electric powertrain and lifts off like a helicopter and flies like an airplane and does it safely. This is incredibly hard work. We have a pioneering team here who's motivated to wake up every day and to take that challenge head on, and that's part of the fun.
All right, I don't think we need to watch the last one just since we're like up against 4 o'clock. It's just like about Wisk, the company we just watched, and they have a Boeing partnership, unless you really want to, Greg.
I think I'm good. I think we've...
I think we covered enough of it, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think like that's my takeaway, right? Like we're, and we'll follow this and we'll give you updates, but like there's so much mindset from the people, like even me who grew up in the 80s, right? But from my parents who have been through this, who have watched the Jetsons, who have seen technology, who have seen the promises, who have seen companies not be able to deliver, who have seen us go to space. I'm rewatching the For All Mankind thing on Apple TV, right? Who have seen us go to space and then just stop. And it's really, have you ever seen that show, Greg?
I've not.
Go watch For All Mankind. It's fascinating. It plays on the story of like, what if the Russians were the first people on the moon and how the space race would have changed and the amazing technology that would have come out of that because we would have never stopped competing.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating show. Excellent. Anyway, but it plays on that. Like people have been so used to, I don't want to call them broken promises, but promises that were like overpromised, underdelivered for so long. The promise of chatbots, the promise of AI, the promise of voice robots on the phone, the promise of flying cars, the promise of the Jetsons, the promise of all this shit is here now, guys. It's not a promise anymore. The cars are in the air. The autonomous vehicles are on the road. The RVs are electric. The AI is here. The robots are walking. They're in people's houses. Next week, we'll look at this. Remind me, Greg, there's a TED Talk of the robot walking around that I just watched 2 days ago. But like, it's here now, guys. So now just like I was talking about, I gave a seminar for British Columbia's Association earlier today on AI. Like The early adopters are the ones that make the money. If you early adopted PCs, you invented the software. You became the Google. You became the Amazon. If you early adopted the phone, you became the millionaire off the early apps in the App Store. If you adopted AI, like me and some other people are going to do, we're going to make a lot of money. If you early adopt the real estate for flying cars, you're going to make a lot of money. If you early adopt the business ideas that have to do with AI or robotics, you're going to make a lot of money. So like, it's okay that you don't want to make a lot of money or take that risk, but do that, or recognize the potential for maybe you don't make a lot of money, but make you make some money by being forward thinking and proactive and learning this stuff now. And man, the keys to the kingdom will fall at your lap. Final thoughts, Greg.
I did not promise anyone they would make a lot of money doing anything. Just for the record, Greg Emmert, hospitality consultant, made no make a lot of money promises on today's show.
I don't think I did. I said you could.
I think depending on who interprets that and how, now you're probably fine. I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that if you want to make a lot of money, call me about your campground. We can do that. Brian's got the future figured out. I'm just working on today. I'm not that far ahead. But good show. I enjoyed it.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it for joining us. Another episode of Outwired. See you next week. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.